love Gravis armor, but the models are not brutal enough for me. You've got this extra tough and heavy plate armor, and then they all have ranged weapons rather than melee weapons, except for the aggressors. And they got Power Fist, the most flavorless weapon you can give to any Space Marine. But I was watching the Lich's Laboratory video about all the Badab War chapters. Everybody that participated in there, and he was kitbashing all of them, and I got greatly inspired to use the Executioner's chapter to make Gravis Armour brutal. And this guy is going to be something of an Aggressor Sergeant. And yeah, it's the start of an abandoned project, so he already had some kind of tabard. I'm just going to clip it a little bit shorter and rip it up a little bit. Because these guys, the Executioners, they actually collect flayed skin as well. But they're not like Night Lords, where it's to terrify their opponents. It's more like battlefield trophies. They collect trophies on the battlefield to show them to the chaplains, so that their deeds get remembered by these chaplains. Chaplains are really important for this chapter, so I think I'll make a chaplain in Gravis armor too. But I'm just gonna roughen this sort of part of the skin up a little bit, make it a little bit more tattered and a bit more frayed. And then it goes back onto the guy. There, a bit more Conan the Barbarian loincloth rather than a knightly tabard that is nice and flowing down. You know, these guys are pretty savage barbarians. They recruit from pretty feral tribes and they keep those traditions intact in their chapter. And the way these guys fight is also pretty brutal and barbaric. Their chapter master, the original one, was Fafnir Rann, one of the Imperial Fists, the captains, and he always fought with twin power axes or a power axe and a shield, and he was part of the assault company of the Imperial Fists. And so these guys are also melee focused, and I'm going to make them with lots of heavy, big heavy power axes. And for this sergeant, that's going to be a two-handed, massive, bearded Executioner's axe, because they're Executioners. So this is a bolter from one of the inceptors, the Gravis guys, so the arm is going to fit the model quite well. I just got to get rid of this bolter part, or actually, I think I can just get rid of the hand. I'm going to use the axe from the Master of Executions, the Chaos Master of Executions, because it's a beautiful two-handed Executioner's axe. Well, fits the chapter and all. I just got to get this off the sprue and get this hand free, pretty clean. There we go. And he won't need it because this guy is of course one day going to be a beautiful Night Lord's Master of Executions who doesn't bring a power axe but brings some sort of massive chain glaive or a chain axe. And I just got to scrape off some of this chaos trim that the axe comes with. You know, they're savage. I don't think they care too much about what things look like, but I don't want them to have this sort of clear chaos iconography. A little cleaner, a little sleeker, and a little bit of trim is okay, but better just get rid of it all. Yeah, they're completely clean of all chaos trim because I don't want there to be any doubt about which side these guys are fighting on. They've been there, they've done that, they had the penitent crusade, and now they're back with the Imperium. And with all the skulls and skins, you might get the impression that they are actually followers of chaos, and these are loyalists. So let's see about the pose. I want him to have this sort of stoic pose where he has his axe resting on the ground, sort of in front of him, holding it at the ready, while he has a gun in the other hand, because he's an aggressor, and aggressors have usually double power fists and then double flamers or double bolters, and I kind of want to give him this sort of combined arms idea where he has a proper bolter and a proper two-handed axe. Nah, screw that. I'm going for a shoulder-mounted bolter instead, so that way also he has two hands free, and he needs two hands for the double-handed axe. So if I put his arm kind of down like this, then on the other side I can just have this sort of sergeant arm from the Eradicators, and I can make him point at something and sort of instruct the squad of, we're gonna go chop some heads over there. Yeah, that's a pretty menacing pose, standing there with that axe sort of dangling down, shows mastery of the weapon, and then pointing at his next victim. He just needs a few bits and pieces, like a backpack from the heavy intercessors. And I want to give him these shoulder pads from the aggressors, but I just got to trim this trim over here a little bit, because otherwise it gets in the way of the backpack. Let's just call that battle damage right there. There we go, that's a pretty brutal Gravis Marine already. Now, he needs lots and lots of embellishments to make him look like an executioner and not just a random space marine. But I'm going to give him that shoulder-mounted bolter first. And this is a bit from a bits box that I got from Bruno, my buddy. Thank you very much. There's lots of vehicle bits in there. And this is a heavy bolter that I think is supposed to go on some kind of space marine vehicle. But I think it will be a nice fit to put on his backpack. And I think I'm going to pin it right there. Sort of in the backpack over there, but a little off to the side. So just a little hole in this side, and to pin this bolter here in place, I'm using this ridiculously thick 2mm pinning rod, because, you know, ridiculously thick is kind of the theme of this video anyway. And there we go. Now the gun, I'm not gonna glue it on because I want to paint it separately, because they have a pretty particular paint scheme, these executioners, and if I can paint the gun separately, that would just be better. So a little bit to the side like this. Now I got a nice massive axe over there, shoulder mounted bolter, heavy bolter over there. I think we're getting there. He just needs some executioner's bits and pieces. Nah, hang on. I'm just gonna move the bolter a little bit. It was like this, and I'm just gonna put it somewhere over there. But that means that this shoulder pad with that nice extra bit of trim is never gonna fit. So I'm just gonna get rid of it, clean it up. And it's okay. It means I have an asymmetrical mini with one shoulder pad that has a little bit higher trim and the other that's a bit smoother. I should have just used the shoulder pad from the Inceptors, which has a smooth shoulder pad, but now it's too late. This stuff is already glued on and there's no way I can get this thing off, so let's just keep moving. Time for the executioner bits. And there's two types of trophies that the executioners collect. One are battlefield trophies, so kind of bits and pieces from the enemies they killed, and they take them with them to bring them to their chaplain, so the chaplain can record their kills. It's very important for these executioners to build up their own sort of saga, their own legacy of important kills they made, and the chaplains, they're called Deathspeakers for them, they keep track of everybody's kill. So I want some fresh kills, like these sort of Space Marine helmets, because that's a decent kill, something to remember, something to bring to the chaplain. And then some ordinary skulls, because these are sort of the trophies of particularly good kills that have been recorded long ago, and they want to carry them in battle as actual trophies, as a show of martial skill and prowess. So these will be skulls, and I got here an old zombie head, like that. I think I'll put them not on spikes though, and I wouldn't put them on chains either, because I think both spikes and chains are too industrial for these guys. Instead, I want to hang these trophies of sort of strings of ropes and so on and so forth. So I got these copper wires. This is 0.3mm thickness copper wire. I'm just wrapping two bits around each other to get this sort of braided cloth, braided string idea. And then I'm gonna tie this helmet to that string and sort of connect it to the belt, because I can imagine him not spending too much time collecting his trophy. He just knocks off a head, picks up the helmet or the skull or the head or whatever, and then he gets his string of rope, which he has prepared, of course, because they're going into battle, and he just sort of wraps it around these horns and hangs it off his belt. Here, like so. This goes around it, just twist it until it's nice and tight. And then I have a nice little trophy that I can hang off his belt, sort of with a hook on his belt. Probably has everything prepared for battle already. And I got some strings left over that I can use for other bits and pieces. Like this skull and this loop can just fit perfectly here behind his head, behind his cranium over there. And then I have another nice trophy. Twist the wire a little bit stronger so it's close to the skull and it is wrapped all around without breaking it, of course. And then this can be hung off maybe his shoulder pad or something, because I want those older trophies, the ones that are actually good kills that he wanted to preserve, to be higher up on the miniature, because if he walks around, he wants his battle brothers to, of course, see his impressive display of kills. I actually put it there on his axe, because for his shoulder pad I want to make some sort of string of trophies, so it's more of a collection rather than a single skull. So this is again a wire that's just twisted together. I'm gonna have it loop right under there, and then go back up and sort of end up behind his shoulder pad once more. Now I'm gonna put it over the, yeah, that's better. Over the shoulder pad like that, and I can hang all kinds of skulls and other trophies off it. Yeah, like so. And then over there, I'm gonna attach this massive sort of zombie head. That must have been a huge Chaos Lord that he chopped the head off. So I'm just gonna drill through the eye socket so that I can run the wire through there. Yeah, it goes straight through the skull, and then I just twist this wire together, and there it hangs. And I think this side is pretty much done. He has his permanent trophies over here, and then a temporary trophy over there. And I just want to add this little piece. I think it's a Space Wolf bit that's clipped off some piece of armor or a weapon, who knows. But it's a nice little feral token, a fetish, something like that. And I think it fits nicely over here. It gives that crotch flap, that little bit of skin that he has over there, a little bit more depth and a little bit more dimension. And I think it harkens back to their nice feral sort of bestial barbarian nature. Yeah, I like it. I'm a fan. I really enjoy making this. I think you need some pouches over there just to fill it out, but I think so far so good. And it's a pretty brutal Gravis Sergeant, Aggressor Sergeant. Who knows? Might be a captain. I don't know. We're gonna go for the next Gravis unit, and that's the Inceptors. And you might be thinking, well, Inceptors, they have guns. The Executioners are a melee chapter. So why on earth would you make an Inceptor? Well, what if we make an Inceptor that is melee focused? And I have to thank my buddy Manet for this beautiful, colorful donation to the channel, because that body comes from him. A bits box again that I got from my friends. And I think I can just give this guy the actual dual power axes. And these come from the Chaos Terminators, but one of them is a chain axe over here. And that will have to change, because I want to stick as close as possible to the idea of Fafnir Rann with 2 power axes charging into battle. I mean, this looks pretty cool already. Can you imagine this Gravis dude just crashing into a squad of Chaos Terminators or something like that, with 2 power axes swinging, taking skulls, executing the Emperor's enemies. And to turn this chain axe into a power axe, I'm going for this bit over here. That is an ancient bit from the Chaos Knights. Those are the actual knights, dudes on horses from Warhammer Fantasy. Beautiful, very grim, massive, big weapons. They're perfect for kitbashing stuff. And I still have a few, because that's how old I am. I got these guys ages ago. And I think it's as simple as here, cleaning this up and then attaching this pretty much over there. I want to have it sticking out a little bit, make it a weird kind of axe. But of course, I need to clean up a little bit more. No chaos iconography on this axe as well, just as with the other one. So I'm just going to scrape everything clean, and I'm going to do the same with the other power axe that I have. These are all from the Chaos Terminators, so there's lots of little spikes and sticky out bits. They all need to come off. And both of these axes have some kind of 8-pointed star in them, so I'm just using some sprue glue to fill those up, because, you know, no chaos iconography on these guys, and all I gotta do afterwards is sand it down. And this one here actually has a nice little skull in the middle, which is good for my executioners. There, arms done, shoulder pads in place. Let's go give him the same treatment as the other guy, with all kinds of skulls and trophies and bits of skin. And I'm gonna start with this thing that I clipped off the bottom of the tabard of the other guy, because I think it fits perfectly here on the shoulder pad. Terminator head hanging off his belt. I guess that's one he has captured recently. A femur over there, and then a string over this skin flap to sort of have a way to tie that to the shoulder pad. And I'm gonna hang this skull off there. And I forgot something, also on the other guy. They actually need purity seals. There, I gave him a few purity seals as well. That skull is dangling there nicely. The femur as a sort of barbarian fetish, and a freshly cut Terminator head over there. Another purity seal. I think it looks good. That one is ready to be painted soon. And it's time for the chaplain, or rather the Deathspeaker as they are called for the executioner. And even though these chaplains are special for the executioners, I want to equip him as a proper chaplain. So with a pistol and a crozius arcanum. And for the pistol, I'm using one of these nice bolters from the Inceptors. It fits the armor, the arm is properly sized, and it's just a pretty cool pistol too. I quite like it. And it's a bit more of an assault bolter rather than a simple bolt pistol. It's more part of the whole assault company. A rapid firing bolter could work really well as they charge into the enemy lines. But then for the other side, I've got to kitbash together some sort of crozius arcanum. And I'm going to start with this thing, this flanged mace or something. It's from the Chaos Terminators. I've already cleaned it up and removed all the Chaos Terminator bits. And I want to turn this into a bit of a crozius arcanum, but then executioner style. So it's going to be with these sharp edges, kind of like an axe, but I'm just going to clip off these sides here. And now to turn it into a crozius arcanum, I'm going to add a skull here right in the center, and I'm going to add one on the other side as well. And then I'm going to take one of these things. I hope you can see it on this top-down camera. It's one of those little relic thingies that come with the regular intercessors and everybody else. And it's this nice sort of gothic shape that goes kind of pointy up. And I took the ones with the bones in them and skulls in them, because it fits the chapter, of course. And then I'm going to glue that right underneath the skull, like that. Now he has the choppiness on 2 sides of an executioner, but he also has the bashiness on the other sides of a chaplain. You know, I paint this all gold. I'm not going to make it actual bones. It's going to be like a golden crozius arcanum. And I think it's a pretty decent Deathspeaker's weapon. So that goes on him. And then it's time for some dedicated Deathspeaker bits. So instead of just purity seals, I'm going to give him this purity seal that has a skull as the seal, but still nice scraps of parchment hanging off it. Or maybe this is just going to be ribbons of flesh, who knows. I already gave him his trophies. No, I've done that twice now. The helmet, Terminator helmet, a nice skull over there. And of course he needs a book to record all the great deeds of all his brothers. Now sadly I don't have any chaplain in Terminator armor to loot for a good skull helmet. So this one from the Reavers will have to do. I think it looks cool anyway. And it has that skull face too. And now it's time to paint. And these guys, I think one of the reasons the executioners are not that popular is because of the weird paint scheme. See, it's described as this sort of steel blue with yellow, but this doesn't look anything like steel blue or yellow to me. It looks more like a washed out, faded Space Wolf paint scheme. But I'm going for this nice saturated purple instead, because this is how they were presented in the very first pictures. I mean, look at that. This weird purple camo pattern. I really like it. I'm not gonna do camo, but I am going to stick to these kinds of colors. But the chaplain is of course still going to be black. After all, they are fairly codex compliant, these guys, and a black and gold chaplain would look cool between all of those purple dudes. And I'm using lots of this yellow ochre as an accent color because one, the shoulder pad in the original paint scheme is supposed to be yellow for the assault squad. And this is an assaulting chapter, so why not just give them all yellow shoulder pads? And secondly, it's a nice reference to the Imperial Fist. Kind of like how the Black Templars have red weapons, because Imperial Fists have red weapons and Black Templars are a successor chapter of the Imperial Fists. Maybe these guys just want to reference the Imperial Fists as well. And yeah, this is the first time that I'm painting with oils here on camera. I've made a couple of test models already. Not for these guys, but just test guys in general. And I really like the paint style, the medium that oils are. So I think I'm just gonna stick with oils or use acrylics whenever acrylics are appropriate and oils whenever oils are appropriate. I mean, look at how easy it is to get a little bit of highlight and shading going. That's also really my style. Not too much time spent on edge highlighting and all the little detail work. More of an impressionistic paint style. It's easier to get these sort of interesting highlights with a different color and shades with a proper dark that still has a bit of color in there. And overall, I'm just quite happy trying a new way of painting as well. Anyway, let's go speed this up a little bit. Right, welcome back. Let me show you what I've done. I've done some pretty bright highlighting on all of the purple. And I'm doing that intentionally because it references that camo pattern, this white, purple and black camo pattern that I actually quite like, but I just don't want to paint camo. But this way I think it's nice, it's bright. Here's the other guy, the inceptor. It's even more clear on this guy, and I quite like it. It's a fun effect and it's fun to paint. So the shoulder pads, the backpack, that's all yellow and it's already a bit dirty and smudgy because of course I'm going to make this all more grimdark. And the chaplain, he has his purple backpack and everything. It's also pretty ready. I started painting the bolter and I figured it should be gold. Of course, it's a chaplain's bolter. But now it's time for some of these trophies and I want to paint them as if they are red corsairs because those are pretty much the sworn enemies of the executioners. Because that's what, well, the Astral Claws are the main enemy and the Astral Claws almost all became sort of red corsairs. So, yeah, that's how we got here. So all of their battlefield trophies, like these things, the helmets that they just picked up and put on a string on their armor, those are going to be quite pristine. You know, they just got them, so they can't be too rusted and worn out. But the skulls and bones, they are quite old, so I'm gonna paint them pretty desaturated, and I'm gonna do the same for the skin. You know, the skin is not something they just ripped off a body over there. It's really a trophy that's old. It has been there for a long time. It's something special that they killed and they carried in combat with them. So a lot of desaturated sort of grays, bit of green in there. Maybe it's starting to grow a little bit of fungus and it's not prepared properly. Who knows? I'm gonna give the power axes this deep orange glow as if they're cooling down after having been used just recently. Yeah, something like that. It's pretty easy to do with oils. That's probably why I need to practice a little bit more, get some better glow effects and so on. I'm just gonna stipple on a little bit of black, make it a little bit less smooth at the edges where it cools down. And I'm gonna use this to stipple on a little bit of battle damage, a little bit of rust and decay on the armor as well. After all, I'm trying to make some brutal, grimdark Gravis Marines, and I guess that has to go with it. And then I need a little bit of rust streaks, but not too much. Add a little bit of silver scratches and dents all over, especially where I already put in some of that rust and these little black spots. And then finally some blood effects, just splattered on a little bit, especially around the legs, because you know that's where the blood streaks would go when they swing those massive power axes. And then my executioners are done, and I think I managed to make Gravis Armour look a whole lot more brutal. I mean, that inceptor jumping into battle with dual power axes, the Aggressor sergeant with a big massive executioner's axe, and then the chaplain in Gravis Armour with his crozius arcanum fit for the executioners, with the sharp edge to chop and a blunt edge to bash and a nice bolt pistol to go with it. I really like doing this. I really like taking these sort of bland Gravis models that have almost no detail and no story to them at all and turning them into cool, brutal, yet loyalist Space Marines. I know I like chaos a lot, you must know it as well from all of my videos, but this was a nice, refreshing, I don't know, change of pace. A loyalist chapter with skulls and skins and brutal axes. Absolutely, completely my style. Massive thank you for watching this video to the end. Leave a like and subscribe and join the Discord. There's lots of people in there and we're growing really quickly. It's nice. It's becoming more and more of a community. Big thank you to my patrons and channel members. Your support rocks. And of course, the Lichess Laboratory for being a great inspiration for this chapter, for this video. Thank you so much. And in the meantime, maybe you'd like to check out this video next.